Hello, everyone. I'm going to use the AI function in NVivo 15 to show you how to use the AI to help you make sense of your data, right? So the data that we're going to use here is a synthetic data. It's not an actual data. I created this data from ChatGPT. Just for the purpose of this presentation, I just want to show you how to use the AI function in NVivo. So that's why I created this data. So as you can see, I have 150 participants. All of them are physicians, primary healthcare physicians. I have their ages, I have their gender, years of experience, ethnicity, and also the questions that were asked and the open-ended responses that they provided. So imagine you have a survey with open-ended responses and you have a lot of participants. How do you use NVivo 15 to help you to make sense of your data with the help of AI function? And I'm going to also show you how to do it. So now that you have an idea about the data that we're going to use, the next one is to look at the research questions that I want to address. I have two research questions. What are the causes of burnout among primary healthcare physicians? And also what can be done to reduce burnout among primary healthcare physicians? So these are the two research questions I want to address. So we're going to go ahead and open NVivo 15. So before you upload the data, you have to close it. So I'm closing the data now. So this is what you're going to see. We're going to create a new project. So I click here and you give it a name that you remember, right? Any kind of name. In this case, I will just say survey data project. And then you can browse and decide where you want to save this project. I want to save it on my desktop. So, and then you can go to next. You can choose yes if you want the system to automatically save your project as you are working on it. And then you click on create. So this is what you're going to see. You close this place. The next step is to upload your data. So where should we go? You go to import, you go to survey because it's an open-ended survey in Excel. So you choose survey, choose Excel, and then look for your data. So let me look for my data. This is the one. Here, it's just giving you a general information about, so the system is going to create cases for you. Cases are files that are created for each of the participants. So in all, we have 150 participants. So the system is going to create 150 cases for us. And also, it will be separating the data in terms of the open-ended responses that you're going to code, and the closed-ended responses will be the demographic variables or the attributes. It's just telling you how your data will be organized. So you go to next. This is just a preview of your data. As you can see, I have all my information here, all the variables and participant responses, right? And you go to next. So here you don't change anything, you just go to next and make sure that you uncheck these places because you are not asking the system to auto code for you or develop sentiments. You are not focusing on that. So you uncheck that and you go to finish. Now you are done. The Excel spreadsheet has been uploaded and you can see participant responses. All of them are here. What I will do is that I'll put the data in the description area so that if you can download, you can also use the data and try it out and see what you're going to get. The next one that you have to think about is you go to codes and you see this arrow, right? Click on this arrow and click on this one. This one is just a label for the Excel spreadsheet that you imported. If you click on that, this is what you're going to see. You see how the system has grouped all the questions that participants were asked and grouped their responses based on the questions, right? So if you want to see how participants respond to each of the questions, you just can double click and it will open for you to see. So when you double click on one of the questions, you see how participant has responded to those questions, right? Just to see the information. So you can close it if you want to. You can also close the Excel spreadsheet here. So now this is the thing that I want to really emphasize on. Before you collect your data, you have to make sure that the questions that you are asking participants are consistent with your research question, right? The reason why you have to do that is when you want the system or the AI to help you to develop the codes for you and also the themes, you want the system to develop the information that will help you to address your research question that you have. So, for example, let's say you are focusing on the causes of burnout. Ask them questions related to the causes so that when they provide responses, you can use AI function to analyze the data because now the system has grouped all the information about the causes in one place for you. Imagine survey questions were not consistent with the research question. It's going to be very difficult for you to really get good results when you want to use the AI function, right? So always make sure that the survey questions are consistent with your research question that you have. Let's move to the fun part. Normally, if you are not using any AI function to analyze your data, you have to open questions that were asked and start a coding process, right? And I have a video on how to do the manual coding without AI support when you have a survey, right? So you go through, identify information that is significant and develop codes to address your research question. You have to first also create containers for the research question. So the video will tell you that, but this video, the purpose is to not do the manual coding now, but focus on using the AI function, which is when you go to home, you see this AI function here. That's what we're going to use to help us to make sense of our data. So what is the process? Let me show you the process. As I say, go to codes and then you click on this arrow under that and to show information under, you just click here and all these questions will be showing. And within that, you have participant responses. So what you're going to do is that you can right click each of the questions that was participant were asked and go to AI assistant, suggest child codes, right? So this is where the AI can help you to make sense of your data. So you click on that. Before you check this one, you have to click on the blue link to read about the terms and condition. If you feel comfortable with the terms and condition, then you can check this place. I thereby confirm that I have read and accepted the AI terms of use. And then you click on OK. Now, what you're going to do is that you go ahead and click on generate. As you can see here, the system has generated code for us, right? And then when you click on each of the codes, it will show the significant information that has been connected to the code. So you can see here that 7 significant information has been connected to the code, early interest in helping people. So, and this one, 3 significant information, this one, 1. At this point, you can decide if you don't like any of the codes, you can uncheck that. If you don't like it, you don't want it to show under codes, then you uncheck that. If you want it to show, then you make sure that everything is checked here. So next is to click on OK. And now when you click on the plus sign, you see all the codes has been generated. And then it shows here AI. So AI help you to generate all these codes, right? You always have the option to make an adjustment to the code. If you have a better suggestion in terms of the code, you can right click on it and go to code properties and change the name. If you want to change anything, you can change. If you want to check aggregate coding from children, you can do that. You click on OK, right? So that's what AI can do for you. We can try doing all of them, and then we can move to the next stage. You right click that, you go to AI Assistant, you click on Create, and the system will go ahead and do the creation for you. So this is what is showing. If you are okay with that, you click on OK. So let's go to the next one. As you can see here, we have the codes that have been generated. Here is about how do you experience burnout, right? So you right click, go to AI Assistant, create, and then you go to OK. We do the same thing for the next one. This is truly straightforward, right? So after that, as I said, you can review and make some changes. You have a better label for the codes. Okay. So you can see some repetition here. As I told you, this is synthetic data. It's not actual data. So you may see some repetitions, but this is just for demonstration. So you click on OK. And we do the last one. What do you do to reduce burnout? So this one is about burnout solutions. And click on OK. Now we have codes addressing the survey questions, right? But we need themes or code that should address your research question. So what do you have to do? Now we're going to create containers here related to the research question. And then what we're going to do is we're going to drag and drop those codes that are addressing the research question that we have. So it's just like now you have created a lot of codes. Can you take all the codes that are addressing the research question and then work on that? And that's what you're going to do. As you can see here, these are the two research questions that we're going to focus on. So we're going to create containers for each of them. One container for the burnout causes and another container for burnout solutions. How do you do that? You right click here, new code, and then you type here one in parentheses, and then you bring the label for the research question, and you can also bring the question under description. You can also check aggregate coding from children. This one helps you to add all the significant information in each of the codes and add it up and then put it there as a total number of significant information. But that's why you have to check aggregate coding from children. I will show you how it will look like. You click on OK here, and then right click here. We're gonna do it for the second research question. RQ2, and then it will be burnout solution. And then we bring the research question here. And then you check aggregate coding from children, you click on OK. Now we have to start dragging and dropping all the codes that are addressing research question 1 and 2. So maybe we can start with research question 1. And I think this one, we may get some codes from there. So in terms of burnout causes, administrative changes and challenges can be one of the causes of burnout. So what you're going to do is that you can just click on it and drag and drop it into the first research question. Part-time flexibility, I don't think that is addressing the research question 1. Day-to-day stress. Is it mentioning day-to-day stress can cause burnout? Okay, we can bring that. Sometimes if you are not sure about what this code means, you can double click and open the container and see what is inside. So we can double click. I think that, let me see the question. You see, this is where you have to look at the question that they were asked and then see the response, right? Do you experience burnout stress at work? And the person said yes, usually a day-to-day basis. It doesn't give us information that it's a cause. It's just telling us that they experience. So we will leave that alone. Balance achieve frequent stress and long hours. I think this one could be part of the causes of burnout. So in this case, we can drag and drop this one into the causes of burnout. Overwhelming work can cause burnout too, so we can bring it here. And there's a question about how do you experience burnout? Let's see, maybe administrative work stress could be part of it. If you are not sure, you can click on the container and then see what is inside. So we bring it here. But when we go to this codes under this survey question, this is where you're going to get a lot of information about burnout. So I think almost all of them talks about burnout. I click on the first one and click on the last one. Always bring your cursor where the circle is so that it will not open when you click on it. So, and then you can drag and drop. So now I have all the information here about the causes of burnout. We're going to do the same thing for the solutions, right? So we're going to go to the survey questions that are related to the research question 2. Part-time flexibility can be a solution. Let's see what they said. That will give us an idea. Okay, so this person is saying that, she or he doesn't experience burnout because she works on a part-time or per diem basis, per diem, right? She works as a part-time and a per diem basis on a part-time and per diem basis. Uh, so okay, this is what she said, or he or she said, right? Really, because I work on a part-time and per diem basis, so I can choose my hours and time for working. So I think that this can be a solution, part of the solution for burnout. So in this case, we can just drag and drop into the solution. I think we'll get a lot of information from this question about what can you do to reduce burnout? All of these part of the solution of burnout. So in this case, you select the first one, press on the shift, select the last one and drag and drop it into the second research question. So you can see that I've drag and drop into the second research question. So you see here now, I've taken what I want in the information that I want to address my research question. I have all my codes, right, that are addressing the first research question and the second research question, right? What you could do is you could even take it from this place, right, so that to be a little bit separate from this information here, right? So you click on the first one here, and then click on the second one. And what you're going to do is you can right click and then you can cut, right? Because we just want to remove it. You can put it here, but to separate the research question from the survey questions, that's why I want to create a folder and put this information in there. So you can right click here, right, on the code and new folder, and you can say research questions. Right. And then click on OK. You click close here. And then click on research question. Click on close. And then right click here and paste. So now you have your research questions here with all the codes. The next step is to categorize the code to develop themes because all these codes, they are allowed to present, right? So you have to think about categorizing. I have a video on how to categorize the code to develop themes. So normally what you do is that you're going to export. You can do the categorization inside NVivo, but to make things easier, I always recommend doing it outside and bringing the themes back here. And I have a video on that. I think I'll put a link here so that you can click on it and then be able to listen to the video. But I can just quickly go through one of them for you to see how it's done, and then you can also use the same skills to develop themes. Sometimes you don't have to categorize the code, especially if you have maybe 4 or 5 codes, they can automatically be themes addressing the research question. The reason why we have to do the categorization is that we have a lot of codes here and you don't want to present each of them. It's going to be a lot of information to present. So why don't you think about the relationship between the codes so that at the end of the day, you can come up with about 4 or 5 or 6 themes addressing the research question that you have. So first, you may export the list of codes, right? So you can right click on any of the codes here and go to export and export list. You choose a place to export that. So I will choose the desktop and I will say codes for the research questions. And then I close it. So let's go to the desktop. We have it here. So as you can see, we have the two research questions. And when you click on the plus sign, it will show you all the codes under that, right? So this is what you're going to do. The next step is we call it sorting strategy or sorting process. You're going to sort them, looking at each of the codes and trying to come up with themes. How do you do that? You can go to the Word document. So you have a Word document here. And then what you normally do is that I always just to remind yourself that you are focusing on the first research question. You can copy your research question and put it here, right? Just to remind yourself that you are going to develop theme to address your first research question. You go to layout and then you click on orientation and landscape. You want to make it wider because you're going to create a wide table. So the next step, as you can see here, we go to insert table. We just want about 6 columns and 2 rows. And the second row, you expand it by clicking on enter to expand that. And then you type cluster 1. And what I do is I copy this one and go to cluster 2, cluster 3, 4, 5, cluster 6. And then you see here on the Excel spreadsheet, we can bring all the codes under the first research question. We can copy that and bring it here so that it will help us to group them, right? Okay, now we have them here. So the first thing is administrative changes and challenges. If you are not clear about what this code represents, you can always go back to NVivo. And what you're going to do is that you can just double click on it and you'll be able to see the kinds of significant information connected to that code. So we copy that, bring it here, and we make it a bulletin. Click here to push it back a little bit. So administrative changes and challenges could be addressing this research question. And we can put it in cluster 1 because nothing is there. Then frequent stress and long hours. Does it have any connection with the first information here? Frequent stress and long hours. We can put a different container for now, especially if you don't see the connection, right? Overwhelming workload. You can bring it here, but I think that this one is a little bit unique because the fact that you have overwhelming workload doesn't mean that you have long hours, right? So putting it a separate way will be good. And also when you finish, you can delete the ones that you have transferred so that it will show that you've done that. Administrative work stress. I think this one can be part of cluster 1 because it talks about administrative related stress. So we delete this one and then work-life balance issues. I'll copy that and put it here in the next cluster because it's quite unique. For now, I think standing alone, addressing the research question will be good. And the next one, burnout causes. This one that is just saying burnout causes, so it's not really addressing the research question, so we delete that. Excessive workload. I think it should be part of cluster 3, right? Do you agree with me? So the next one is lack of support and time off. Lack of support. This could be in cluster 5. Talk about support. It can be alone there. Pressure and expectations. Pressure and expectations. Can you guess where we should put this one? Should it be here? Sometimes it depends on the data too. You always can go back and see the information there, right? And that will help us. It could be a part of cluster 3. So let's put in a cluster 3. So excessive workload put pressure on you and you have a lot of expectation and challenges faced by young physicians. Because they are young, being young and inexperienced affects can lead to stress and burnout. So where should we put this information? I think this one can be alone, so we can put it in cluster 6, right? You have to be very flexible in this process. You just have to make sure that you are grouping the information or the codes that are related, right? Now, after that, we have to label the clusters. Those labels will be the themes. The ones that are easy is that if it's only one, you can just transfer the name up here or make a little adjustment to the name to help you to address your research question. We can say administrative work-related stress, right? So administrative work-related stress, work-related stress, and then frequent stress and long hours. I was even thinking that this information can be part of cluster 3. What do you think? Maybe we can put it because you have long hours, there's more likely that you are having excessive workload, right? So I think this one can be moved to that, but the decision should be based on what you see in the data, right? So we can take this one off, and this one will be cluster 2 now. And what label should we put here to represent these information? What do you think here? I think overwhelming workload and long hours could be a very good label. All right. What do you think? You can put your ideas in the comments. Now we have this theme representing the course here and also addressing the research question that you have. Here, you can just copy and paste. You can always do that if you want the same label to be the theme. You can do that. Here, lack of support and time off. That could be the same. You can use it as the same one. I was thinking, yes, this code is a little bit unique, right? So let's look at whether there's a lot of people who make that comment. I think that would give you an idea whether, because I was thinking we can put it in cluster 2, right? Because they are young and inexperienced, they sometimes become overwhelmed. They have frequent stress because they have to learn new things. They are under pressure, different expectations, right? And so I think this information can come here. But I think that if you bring it here, we are losing the quality of this code because this experience is only for the young physicians, right? So let's go and see what participants were saying, and that will give us an idea whether we should leave it alone or drop it under. Oh, only 2 responses. So sometimes you have to go and look at what participants were saying. And so I think this time we can just put it here. So now we have 6 themes, right, addressing the research question. If you think that the themes are a lot, you can also evaluate and see whether you can combine some of them. But for now, we can go ahead with the 6 themes. When you are done, you go back to NVivo and bring the themes back, right? Yeah. So we go to research questions. We have the themes here. You right click on the first research question, new code, and then in parentheses, you type theme, and then we copy and paste the first theme, which is administrative work-related stress. We copy that and put it here. We check aggregate coding from children. We click on OK. We do the same thing for the second theme. We copy and right click here, new code. And then here we have to type theme, aggregate coding from children. We do that for the next one. Oh, I made a mistake here. I should have changed this one. So this one will be cluster 3. This one will be cluster 4, and this one will be cluster 5. So we have, we have 5 themes, right? So let's go to the next one, and go to NVivo. We right click on the research question, new code, and then put the information there, type theme, and check aggregate coding, click on OK. And then you do the same thing. Let's go back here to the next one, lack of support and time off. So we go right click here, go to new code, put it there, we type theme and aggregate coding from children. You click on OK. And then we do the same thing for the next one. Now, what we have to do is, now we have to drag and drop. So this one, we just drag and drop it here. So we drag and drop. Burnout causes, you see, this one we eliminated it because it's not addressing the research question, it's just stating that burnout causes. Another option that you can do is that you can double click that and look at the items there and see whether you can recode some of them. So you see that burnout is caused by consistent demand without break, right? So this information can be part of excessive workload, right? So we can drag and drop it into that. So you see how sometimes if the code that is generated by AI is too broad, you can open and go and recode some of them into the existing one or create a new container under the research question and put that information there, right? So always, if you are not clear about the code, you can always change, you can go to and recode them. So there might be some rich information there that you shouldn't ignore. So if you are not interested in this code, there are 2 options. One option is to right-click and delete the code from there. Another option is to create another container down here called other observations. Other observations. Anything that is not addressing the research question, but you don't want to delete or you want to go back later, you can put them there. So this one, you can drag and drop it into other observation, right? Administrative stress can go here. You always have to check the table that you created. So you see how we are just dragging and dropping the information. Lack of support could be here. Overwhelming workload here. Pressure and expectation, I think pressure and expectations will be here. And then this one goes here. So now you see how we have created codes, themes, and then we 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 created the themes here and drag and drop the codes under the respective themes. That's what you're going to do for the second one, right? The same process. Go back and create a table and make sure that they are related before you group them. And after that, you label them. You see how now what I like about this AI function is that you are still in control in terms of you analyzing the data, right? This process can drastically reduce the amount of time you spend on the data. And that's amazing about this AI function. So I hope this one was helpful. If you have any question, feel free to put your question in the comment section. I'll be happy to address them for you. Thank you so much for your time.